So I was curious. I was sort of an incipient journalist. I wasn't really a journalist, in fact, but I had the curiosity of a journalist, and I thought, well, this is a pretty interesting place because what we had in this place was really the flower of the Intifada. I mean, you had everyone from the hero rock throwers and knife men of the Intifada, all the way up to the leadership. I mean, we had the founders of Hamas in my block at a certain point, and I thought, well, this is going to be quite an interesting crowd of people to get to know. And so, for selfish reasons, in a way, I thought, wow, these are I got to satiate my curiosity by talking to these guys. I had a larger, and I think simultaneously sort of noble and also grandiose and completely juvenile thought as well, which was that I thought if I could have a relationship, just a kind of relationship built on respect with some of these prisoners, and I could allow them to see the human in me, and I could spend the time to try to locate the human qualities in them, I thought, in this very juvenile way, that in this remote corner of the Middle East conflict, that I could at least start something that might actually end up in possibly something slightly larger. Like I said, I was trained, like many American Jews, to believe that you have a personal responsibility and the personal capacity to change the world. So I thought, I'm going to try to apply myself to this. There was obviously there were some prisoners who weren't interested in befriending me. When you join the Islamic Jihad, you're pretty much signaling your disinterest in going to interfaith Seder's. And Hamas too, really, when you think about it. But there were plenty of people who were as interested in the Israelis as I was in the Palestinians. The one prisoner I write about the most in this book is this fellow named Jeffrey Goldberg. I was drawn to him for a couple of reasons. One was that he had a sense of humor, which is fairly rare in this context. And one of the many discoveries I made about Israel when I made Aliyah was that Israel represents the largest concentration of unfunny Jews on the planet, which is fine. I mean, and when I analyzed it through the prism of my Zionism, I realized, of course, that this is actually fine and good, because you don't need a sense of humor for self-defense when you have an Air Force. And that made sense from a Zionist perspective, so it was fine. Nevertheless, it's a burden sometimes when they don't get your jokes. But Rafik was funny, but more to the point, he had a quality that was very rare then, still very rare for a Palestinian, particularly someone active in politics, was that he had the capacity to be self-critical, critical of his own national movement. Now, we know, of course, that Jews specialize in self-criticism. It's actually a strength. Sometimes it gets a little bit exaggerated, but it's actually a strength of the self-correcting mechanism in Judaism is the strength of it. It's the strength of any democratic people. Palestinians, and to a larger extent, the Muslim world don't have that, and so the dialogues never moved beyond propaganda. With Rafik was interesting because he saw the flaws in his own movement's approach to its liberation. I, of course, saw some of the flaws of the Israeli plan in the uprising to simply arrest everybody and put them in a prison where they can become further indoctrinated in radicalism. It didn't seem very right. And so Rafik and I would actually have honest discussions about our own sides and the other side. He was also, and this is very important to me, and this is going to sound a little strange, but you have to remember this is a Jewish prison, so we actually had a library cart that would come through, and prisoners could take out books. And Rafik was a very active reader, and we had a lot to talk about. The library cart, by the way, was somewhat censored. It was mostly the biographies of Chaim Weizmann. And actually, the number one book on the bestseller list that gets you a prison camp was the Arabic translation of Menachem Begin's The Revolt, which, of course, not read for, because they wanted to figure out reasons it was read as a blueprint for a successful uprising, which they were not clearly having.